Why did the Rebbe say everything he did was for naught, lahevel v'larik, when he actually accomplished so much?
Because the Rebbe is a very practical man. And he gave himself a very clear mission. And the mission is to bring Mashiach. And spiritual Mashiachs, there's no shortage of spiritual Mashiachs. You know, you have the story with the Tzemach Tzedek and the Rebbe Marash. And the Rebbe wants Mashiach Lamata Masarat Tfachim. One of the Siyam Rambams, the Rosh HaKollel of Ger, Fisher, repeated that the Ger Rebbe was Bam Rebbe. And the Rebbe pointed at his eyes and he says, Medi Fleischech Eugen Velech Zen Mashiach. The Rebbe is not impressed and satisfied or even moved by any kind of spiritual effect. Mashiach is real. He's a Basav Adam, but he's real. He's a Basav Adam Gashmi that's going to come in this physical world and make the world into the Eibishter's world. Make the world following the Eibishter's Ratz and the Eibishter's Teira for Yidden and Tayag mitzvahs and by going through Sheva mitzvahs b'nei Neach. And if you haven't finished, as far as the Rebbe is concerned, it's Lahev Avaladik. People have said all kinds of remozim about Lahev Avaladik. I also want to point out that when the Rebbe edited the Sikha, he took those words out and softened it. And there's Dvarim Shabal Peh and there's Dvarim Shabiksav. But the simple reality is, the Rebbe expects Mashiach Bagashmias. The Rebbe holds, and he brought many, many proofs, that Kol HaKol HaKitzin, we're holding in the times of Mashiach. Mashiach is a human being. He's a physical man who comes into the world and redeems the world. He brings goodness to the world. He brings Torah to the world. He brings Torah mitzvahs. He brings the wisdom of Torah to the world and raises the people in the world up to a madrege where they're conforming to this will. And if it doesn't happen, actually everything that's preliminary leading up to that is relative to that final end, lahev v'ladik. To the Rebbe, it has to either be real or it isn't real at all. And that's the Rebbe's idea about Mashiach. And this is what the Rebbe wants us to want. You know, the Rebbe talked so much about us bringing Mashiach, and at the heart of that is wanting Mashiach. And understanding what Mashiach means, and wanting Mashiach, and believing that it's a realistic thing, that Yamid Melech Beis David, Hege B'Teire V'Esek B'Mitzvahs, Kifi David Aviv, Ki David Aviv, Teresh B'Ksav and Teresh B'Al Peh, and Yaakov Kol Yisrael Le'elech V'Hadik Bitka, and so on and so forth. That it should actually happen B'Poil, in El Mazeh Gashmi, and if it doesn't happen, Mashiach remains an idea, doesn't remain a reality. It's not what the Rebbe wants. The Rebbe sees Mashiach. The Rebbe sees that the world is ready to be made good. And he's, in other words, 500 years ago, the world wasn't ready. Now the world is ready. Yidden and Lahav Lagoyim are ready to be Makabel Pnei Mashiach Tzedkenu and follow his lead and be good, living according to the Rasna de Eibishter. And until it happens, for the Rebbe, this is a frustration. But I do want to add something to this. There is a little pamphlet, a little booklet, which is called Ba'Kodesh Pnima, which is stories and anecdotes and experience that were said and written down by Rabbi Gansberg, Shalom Gansberg. Shalom Gansberg lived in the Rebbe's house for many years. And on a personal level, on a family-like level, he was almost a member of that family. It was the Rebbe's, and then him. And even after the Rebbe's had passed away, he remained close to the Rebbe. And he wrote down many of the very, very personal things that he observed when he was around the Rebbe. And one of the stories he tells, and you could look it up in this book, Ba'Kodesh Pnima, is that he was in the Rebbe's room in the winter of 1992, the winter which would end with the stroke, Le'aleinu. And the Rebbe was pacing the floor. And the Rebbe was talking to himself out loud. And he was saying, in effect, Ich bin geboren geworden Freitag, I was born on a Friday. And anybody who's born on a Friday never finishes what they start. And the Rebbe was rhetorically lamenting that he didn't accomplish what he wanted to set out to accomplish. And Rabbi Gansberg writes that he was very pained by this. So he said to the Rebbe, why is the Rebbe saying this? The Rebbe made so many Bailei Tshuva. And when he mentioned to the Rebbe Bailei Tshuva, the Rebbe said, yeah, he's right. I did accomplish something very real, very significant. Now again, I didn't look up this story today So I may not be quoting it verbatim, but that's the spirit of it. In that pamphlet, there's notes that were written by Harav Ashkenazi, or written down based on his thoughts from Kfar Chabad. And he says in the footnote there that by each one of the Rabbeim, there was a moment like this of frustration. What have we accomplished? And the only thing that made the Rabbeim feel like they'd accomplished something in their lives was V'rabim Heishev Meyovin. Not the Torah that they taught, not the Chasidus that they revealed, not even the Avodah that they inspired, but that they made Bailei Tshuva, V'rabim Heishev Meyovin. And in that winter of Tafshin Nun Beis, the Rebbe acknowledged this idea of V'rabim Heishev Meyovin. And I'm not trying to say, Chas v'shalom, that this takes away from the Rebbe's frustration, because the Rebbe wants us to want Mashiach like he wants Mashiach. And to appreciate the Mashiach as a real thing. Not just the Mashiach as a real thing we believe he's gonna come. He's a real thing we believe he can come, and the world can receive him, and we can receive him. And this is very, very important in ultimately being Zeicher to the Esgalus of Melech HaMashiach.